Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith and you're watching another What I'm Reading Right Now video here on the channel. This is where I talk about what I have been reading, what I'm currently reading, and what I'm going to be reading next. Things have changed since the last time we spoke. I have blue hair now. I've had it for a couple of weeks honestly at this point, but last week was my off week, so I haven't filmed anything, and here we are. This is what's going on. I finished 11 books since last time we spoke, so in the interest of this video not being 4 centuries long, shall we just dive in with what I have been reading? First up, I finished Scarlet by Genevieve Cogman. This is a reimagining of the Scarlet Pimpernel from the perspective of a young woman who's at the beginning of the book is working in the house of an aristocrat in England. Worth noting, a lot of the aristocrats in the world in general are vampires. So she worked for a vampire aristocrat and they're like, hey, we think you'd be great to go on this mission with the Scarlet Pimpernel, and they go on a mission to France, and it's sort of one of those, I am but a humble lady's maid in this instance, and I've been swept up in this greater scheme and I don't really know what's going on. I think it does a better job than most books of that ilk of managing to keep the character feeling like she has agency and that she's not just a pawn in a wider operation. I did like this. I found it quite hard to balance I suppose the serious nature of the topic, because it is serious, with the silliness of the aristocrats of vampires. I just find that inherently silly, and I found it hard to mesh the two. I don't think it was a bad book by any means, and I would read more in the series. I wouldn't be rushing out to read them immediately, but I did have a good time, and I think if you like Genevieve Cogman's writing, you will probably like this. We're going to mess with the chronology a little bit here because it's easier to just talk about a series all at once. Over the last couple of weeks, I finished V.E. Schwab's Shades of Magic series in its entirety. It was a reread for me. I did it by audiobook, and I really, really enjoyed it. I had a good time. It reminded me how much I really liked this series. I think it's just exactly what I want from a fantasy book of that kind, just like a slightly actiony, characters stomping on each other's feelings, cool magic system. That's what I want. I liked having it served to me. It was pretty much quintessentially what I would recommend to someone wanting to kind of get back into fantasy who'd liked it a lot in the past, and I have used it as an example of that before, because I just think it hits a lot of the right beats, at least for me and my friends anyway. I'll have a video coming out for that in the next few weeks, so I won't talk about it too much here, but just letting you know, I read them, I had a really good time, and I would recommend the audiobooks. Flipping back in time just a little bit, I finished The Adventures of Amina Al-Sirafi. This is the new Shannon Chakraborty book. I loved this. I thought it was really good. I got a little bit muddled towards the end, but to be fair to the book, I had at that point been in a hairdresser's for 6 hours. So I think that might have been more of a me problem, and when I own a physical copy of the book and have it in my hands, I will definitely be rereading it. I think it's just one of those ones where I need to sit with the ending a bit more, but I really love the beginning. This is a one last job story with a older female sea captain pirate kind of character who has to go on one last job, and I really enjoyed putting the crew together. I think the characters are fantastic. I had a good time with that. I had a good time with this writing. I had a good time with these characters. I would recommend. I'd love to film a video for it. Again, I might wait until I have a copy in my hands and I can read the ending again. Another series read, or a series caught up to, I read C.L. Clarke's The Unbroken and also The Faithless. This is an advance review copy. Thank you so much to Orbit for sending me this. I really enjoyed both of these. I would say The Faithless might actually have pipped The Unbroken at the post for me. I just think these are really, really good books. They're really tackling really interesting themes and the characters are fantastic, but this just hit me in the emotions in a lot of ways. I genuinely just sent Angela the message at one point because I was having a lot of feelings. But yes, both excellent, very good. Again, would love to do a video just on The Faithless. Time is not my friend at the moment, but I'm hoping it will become my friend again and we will just have loads and loads of new release videos for you. Sometimes when my brain is just not being happy with me, I read YA contemporary romance. That's sometimes just what happens. I read Some Girls Do. It was a good time. People who watch this channel aren't going to care too much about that, so I'm not going to dwell on it, but I did read that and that was a thing that I read. Continuing on with my Edge Chronicles project, I've read 2 Edge Chronicles books, Midnight over Sanctified, which I really, really enjoyed. This is one of my favourites. I know I say that every single time, but to be honest, every time I read them, they become a new favourite. They're just so fun, so good. Love the characters of this. And then I went from this is the Twig trilogy, I went into the Rook trilogy, which is the next one, and I read Last of the Sky Pirates, and I absolutely loved it. It's another one of my favourites. It's got librarian knights in it. Knights of a library? Yes, please and thank you. I think what I really like about the Rook trilogy is Skyflight becomes a bit more interesting in it. So I'm really excited to just continue on reading all of the Edge Chronicles books for another few weeks, I think. Yes, because I've written it for my TBR, which is up on Patreon, if you're interested. I'm moving into the books that I haven't read before. I haven't read the nameless one, the Cade saga. I haven't read any of those yet, so I'm really excited to see what the world is like anew. Ooh. And the last thing that I finished, which I did finish a little while ago, so it's really telling me I need to get reading again at the moment, was Across the Wall. This is Garth Nix's collection of short stories. There's a novella in here that is Old Kingdom, which is why I read it, because I wanted to finish off that read-along, and I had a good time with this. I won't say Garth Nix's short stories are my favourite. I think Garth Nix is very much one of those authors, I either really like what his writing is doing, or I'm not fussed at all. Like, I just remember Angel Mage. I really didn't like Angel Mage. I keep coming back to it, but ooh, that wasn't a book for me. However, Old Kingdom, I love it. That novella was really good. I just think the rest of it wasn't so great. There was a really interesting thing in there about, because obviously the collection was originally released in, I think, 2005, but don't quote me on that, and then re-released again in 2021. And so he'd gone back and kind of added to his author's notes, and what I found really interesting and what I actually appreciated is he didn't delete the old ones. So one of the stories is, the preface to it is him talking about how he wanted to write a story that had Aboriginal inspiration to it, and people were like, hey, maybe don't do that, Garth, that sounds like a bad idea. And in the original author's note he was like, I still don't know where I stand on whether I should or shouldn't be allowed to use this. And then there's a follow-up author's note saying, I would now not do this. I've thought about this harder and we've had more conversations about this and I wouldn't do this. And I think I really found it interesting seeing an author who kind of has been around for that big, not shift in consciousness in the sense that, like, before it was okay and now it's not, but in the conversation that have been had about these things really having an impact on an author. I thought it was interesting that he left that in, and I think it gave me a bit more insight into him as an author and where he's come from and so such. Overall, would I recommend that short story collection after having gone on a huge tangent about that? I would say maybe. If you love Garth Nix's writing all the time, it would probably be fine. For me, it was this was good, I'm glad I took this off the list, and I owned it, so it gets to come off my owned TBR, which is always nice. Things I'm in the middle of, I am 200, almost bang on 200. 201 pages through Scythe by Neil Shusterman. I'm rereading this for Overbooked now that we're moving out of the Schwab phase, although I still do technically need to review Vicious and Vengeful. I need to do a whole organisation session with myself, honestly. I'm enjoying this. The romance is still not it for me. It's good to know that I haven't changed my opinion on that. Honestly, I was worried I would have changed and I would have to go back on everything I'd said before. I'm still not fussed about it, but I am enjoying the world building of this, and I think having read the other two books and Gleanings, which is the short story collection, there's a lot more richness to the world than this book would let on. So if you're a person who has started this series and hasn't finished it, I'll get back to you on whether I think you should. I'll get back to you when I've read the other two. I'm also still working on Bloodmarked by Tracy Dion. I haven't actually put it on Storygraph, and I must, because otherwise I will never finish it. I'm doing that by audiobook. The audio narrator's accents are still interesting, particularly for some of the UK accents, shall we say. But overall, the actual plot I'm enjoying. I think probably it's one I would have had a better time if I read it physically, but we don't have time for that right now, and I've already started the audiobook. And lastly, I'm 11% of the way into Hannah Whitton's The Foxglove King. This is, so far, more of a book for me than I thought it was going to be. I hadn't kind of twigged that there was going to be death magic in this, and hello, hi, I would like to read more of that, please. So I'm not really at the part where the plot's been set up. I'm kind of at the setup for the setup, so I shall see how I go after that. But so far, I'm feeling good about it. We'll talk about it next week. Still to read this week, if I can get everything done. I have 2 Animorphs books I want to finish. I don't know how likely that is to happen, but I also want to finish Thunderhead. This is a catch-up because last week I was meant to read Scythe and then I didn't, and it's been a whole mess. Everything's a little bit off schedule at the moment. And then I also have Shadows of the Short Days by Alexander Dan Wilhelmsen, which I'm reading because I have the sequel/companion novel to read next week, and I've got to finish all the stuff that I'm currently reading, so no pressure. No pressure, it's already Wednesday. I've got time. I think the only thing to say kind of going forward is I am going to be continuing on with Edge Chronicles, and I'm also starting a reread of the Unstoppables series by Charlie Jane Anders because I have a review copy of the 3rd one. I'm really excited to read it. 2 books came to me in the post the last couple of weeks, one of which I've already shown you. I was sent a finished copy of The Faithless by C.L. Clarke. Love this already. So excited to own a copy. Happy to have them sitting together on my shelves. And then also Flower Heart by Catherine Bakewell, which is a YA book. I don't know much about it. A friend said it was really good. They sent a review copy. I'll be reading it in a few weeks. It's too shiny to have on camera, but excited to get to it. And I will also have my Goldsboro copy of A Day of Fallen Night coming today, so I'll show you that next week. And then 1 digital review copy got approved that I'm burning with excitement. I am on fire. I am thrilled. I'm delighted. I'm going to wave my arms so much the people in the comments are going to be so cross with me. Bone Shard War. I have a review copy of Bone Shard War sat on my Kindle right now, and I could read it, but I'm not going to. I'm going to put it off for a few weeks just because I really want to do this. It's due. I want to read the whole trilogy together. I want to have the best experience I can possibly have. So in a few weeks, I will be rereading Bone Shard Daughter. I might let you know when I'm doing that in case anyone wants to read it with me. I might just read it on my own time. I haven't decided. If you'd be interested in rereading the first two, please do let me know. If you're new to the channel, I talked about Bone Shard Daughter every single video for about a year back in, I think must have been 2020. I had such a good time. I'm so excited. New releases, we'll touch on these very briefly. I need to kind of get my head back in gear with new releases because I think my spreadsheet's gone a little bit out of whack. But Adventures of Amina Al-Sirafi is out. I need to go and buy myself a copy. Day of Fallen Night is out. I have a copy coming to me in the post. So exciting. And also Furious Heaven, which is the sequel to Unconquerable Sun. This is the Alexander the Great but in space book. I really want to reread the first one before I read the second one, but I do want to read the second one, so I'm thinking maybe that might be where my book token goes for my birthday, perhaps? Perhaps. Lots of good things coming out in March, so we've got more to talk about as we go through. I think that's everything we had to cover. I hope this wasn't absolutely horrendous to edit. So sorry, editing Judith. What have you been reading? What have you been up to? Tell me how your last couple of weeks have been. I would love to hear from you down in the comments below. While you're down there commenting, if you haven't already, please do hit subscribe. It makes me feel loved and appreciated. You can also follow me on social media. Come hang out on Discord where we have chill chats about books. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all the ghosts who haunt me over on Patreon. They support the channel and in return get early access to videos, bonus content and live streams. If you would like to join their number, that's linked below as well. Thank you so much for watching. That's all from me and I will see you in the next one. It's gonna be some bloopers now. Magic series or Shades of Magic series. Amina Al-Sirafi. There is a novella in there that is Old Kingdom, which is why I was reading it, because I wanted to finish off my Old Kingdom read-along. And lastly, I'm in the middle. I am 11. Oh, that's not as far as I thought it was going to be.